How would blockchain technology impacting supply chain management? Hi, welcome to Confex Up channel. I'm Bonnie Ridzon, your host for Expert Insight at Live, a broadcast series featuring forums and interviews with the industry thought leaders on market, policy, strategy, technology, and innovation that steer the industry growth. To all our viewers, if you have any inquiries or questions, kindly share them on Slido, hashtag blockchain expert insight at live. You can also post your questions through the Q&A message box below the live broadcast channel. Due to the complexity and lack of transparency in the current global supply chain, there is an increasing interest on how blockchain might transform the supply chain management industry. As more companies are racing to digitize business to cope with the new normal, blockchain seems to be the next big thing for companies to automate services seamlessly. I have with me today one of the blockchain experts, Mr. Chris Tran, CEO of Infinity Blockchain Ventures, IBV, to share with us his thoughts on blockchain technology solutions for supply chain management. This session will be covering use cases around the region and how it is impacting real businesses in the global market perspective. Hi, Chris.
Hello,
How have you
hello.
been doing, by the way?
Good.
Splendid. Thank you once again for joining us this afternoon on our Expert Insight at Live. To start off, perhaps, Chris, you want to share with us your thoughts on blockchain technology solutions for supply chain management. Over to you, Chris.
Yes, thank you again for Confex Hub for having me today on this prestigious show. Perhaps, to answer your question, I think that, as one of the blockchain service provider in the region, we always have a very high expectation for blockchain adoption and everything. But because of COVID-19, the global pandemic, I think it's actually speed up a lot of the adoption process and procedure around this space as well. So I think today I will touch on everything from a more general scope, and then try to break down into supply chain silo later on as well. So I think it's time for me to go on my slide and share with everyone about what I have prepared today. So go on to the next page. Yes, so let's start first with who we are as a company, as a group. Location-wise, we are a fairly regional team. We have offices in Japan, Hong Kong, China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore. So Vietnam is where we're keeping our R&D base. So basically where we are building our blockchain solution from, because Vietnam is known for their developer talent. So we go there and build a huge R&D base there. I'm in charge of IBV, Infinity Blockchain Venture, our advisory arms, which basically taking care of, the advisory consulting business of the group. Next. Yes, so on this slide, basically it's an overview of what is our group all about. We have a different function and different areas that we're covering, but pretty much it's blockchain related business. So different entities, we're covering different market and different function, but overall it's for the adoption of blockchain technology, which I can share a few live cases that we have done around the region in the later part as well. Next. Next. Yes, so basically as a group, we can, providing blockchain enterprise solution, consulting for government as well as enterprise. We're also doing a lot of investment incubation around the space as well. And part of the business that we're helping ecosystem. We're helping startup and also blockchain company to connect with like investor, community, and so on and so on. So basically, we try to do a lot of things around this space of the industry. Yep. Next. Right. So here is just a very quick look of some of the partner that we have here in Malaysia. So for the purpose of the presentation, I think I just put down a few key partner that we have here with us through IBV. Yep. Next. So okay, let's go on to our the main content of my presentation today. So I think for everyone to understand why blockchain can be the difference maker in the supply chain, I think perhaps we can start to understand what is blockchain all about. So what about like to understand about the current challenge of the current economy, digital economy. Blockchain was created and blockchain was founded to solve a lot of the current issue that we have in the current like IT system, the current financial system, for example. So a few like standout challenge that we are seeing with the current system are like lack of transparencies, low level of security, unclear level of authority, power, violation of like ethics and conduct and everything. So why is it that way? It has been that way for a very long time because of the design of the current system in a lot of the current system that we are using. Put it in short form, we usually, as blockchain company, we call it centralized system. So centralized system, meaning that it's a centralized system that being controlled by one or a few entity or a few admin, if you want to put it in like a simple understanding. And these people, these organizations, these admin got the power to control the entire system, which also allow them to, for example, like changing the information, change the data, erase the information or whatsoever, right? Because they have the power to do so. So blockchain has moving from the centralized way of managing things and data into a decentralized way, which meaning that every single computer, every single phone, and every single system in the entire network are their admins, right? So no one is controlling the network anymore, which meaning that all of the information taking place in the platform will be transparent to everyone. It's highly secure because of the way it's being designed and everything. So because of that, blockchain going to become one of the very key technology in the near future as well. Because of those advanced features. I think I will go to the next slide to show some of the more concrete example. So on this slide, actually, I think all of you can access to the slide later, so you don't have to worry too much. So on this slide, basically, the vertical is a different sector or industry that may benefit from the usage of blockchain in their system. What I'm highlighting in the yellow box was banking industry. If they adopt blockchain solution, right? The reason why this charts have different color square box in the middle, because depends on what you are building, what industry and what sector you are adopting blockchain. Some of the key feature and the key elements of blockchain may vary per your sector and per your industry. For example, if for supply chain, one of the key component for them to adopt blockchain is transparency and cost saving, for example, right? So those two are the highest score evaluation based on how they can use blockchain for their solution, for example. But not necessarily the same for the banking industry. For banking industry, they love feature like P2P transaction, real-time transaction, traceability in the sense of financial transaction, for example. Then, so what I'm saying is different sector, different business model may look at blockchain from different angle. require different elements as a different scale and level per their purpose, right? So today we're gonna keep our focus around the supply chain. So next. Right. So here is elaborate on what I explained in a previous slide. So here are basically most of almost everything, every single key advanced feature of blockchain, and depends on what you're trying to achieve with blockchain. You can look at this chart and pick out the best elements of blockchain and build your blockchain solution that way, for example. Next. Yep. So here another chart for education purpose, blockchain pro and cons. So the reason that I put this chart here here in this slide because I have heard a lot of people mentioning about blockchain as a magical technology. Blockchain is a golden technology that can solve everything, every single challenge that we have here on Earth or something like that, which is not true. Just like any other technology, blockchain have their pro and cons as well. So you need to understand your current pain points and see if those pain points can be solved dramatically, effectively with blockchain. Otherwise, just like any other technology, it doesn't make sense for you to go for it, right? So the blockchain cons, I can name a few, which is like, for example, the complexity of data structure, the change of, the current, like operation system, the awareness, the understanding, the legal aspect of it. For example, if we're talking about some of the financial blockchain application out there, like cryptocurrency, remittance, for example. So those, even though the technology can deliver its impact and it's straightforward what they can do, but from a legal side of the business of the economy, is it safe? Is it legal for the government to allow you to operate in the sector, for example, is another set of questions which your company have to answer, the service provider of blockchain solution have to answer as well. So it's not exactly a golden or miracle, magical solution for all. It's, you have to be very selective on that as well. Next. Yep. So we have developed quite a number of different blockchain product under our incubation, activities for the past few years. And because today we choose the topic of supply chain, so we are, I'm using one of the product that we have we have been using to providing consulting and advisory around the traceability for supply chain for different companies and government in the region, and the product called outbreaks. So let's get into it. Next. Yep. So as you can see, right, outbreaks have three functions to go with it. The first function is the ability to trace, a journey or a production line of a product. And it's one of the most advanced feature of any traceability system that you can find out there. Then we also have WOW docs, which is putting authentication documents like your driver license, your ID number, any sort of certification into blockchain, so you can protect, your ID, you can protect your asset, you can protect the ownership of an asset or something like that. And then WOW Secure is basically a feature that we can provide for a, an IT system, for example. The reason why we have to have a traceability system in blockchain, isn't that already have a lot of traceability application out there? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. There are a lot of traceability application or function out there that even in Vietnam, even in Malaysia have been using. But the difference was that there's no way to entirely and 100% trust the data that you're seeing on those non-blockchain platform, for example. And a lot of those platforms are still running on the centralized way of operation, which meaning that possibility, uh, people still can go into the system and change the information if they want to, right? And that exactly what you try to avoid when you talk about traceability, for example, because we want to have the honest, most direct, transparent information as possible that we can see from the product, even if that a um, production journey or manufacturing journey or agriculture process or whatsoever. We want to make sure that we want to see the most transparent data and information as possible, right? So go on to the next page is basically um, a quick summary of some of the challenges that we seeing in the current supply chain system. I think I have mentioned a few just now. Number one is lack of trust, lack of transparencies. I gave you an example just now, right? I mean, if a person running a system on a centralized way, and I'm the CEO of the company, right? I'm the admin of the company. Possibly and technically, yes, I can definitely going in and change the information so that it benefits my company. It helping my company to avoid, for example, a legal challenge or a safety issues with the government, for example. Then also we also can see the incoherence information flow. Basically, this is a good example of this challenge could be how halal food industry recording the halal process and announcing such product and what product can be considered as halal, right? Because right now, the only way that we can verify and seeing on a product if it's halal or not is to see the trademark and a logo of the halal association or verifier to make sure that this is a halal product, right? We can't tell much from that QR code, from that logo, from that verification mark, because it doesn't show enough information. So imagine of a solution helping you to track the halal food from the point of production to slaughtering to packaging and then deliver to your house, for example. And of course, to be able to do that, blockchain is not the only technology solution will be used in the entire process. Some other technology will be looped into as well. For example, IoT device, AI, for example, to processing the data information that a blockchain system receive, for example. Then I just talk about data, right? So if we're talking about IP product, we're talking about intelligent product that it's very important for people to show the ownership, the authority to use their rights and everything. Right now, it's pretty leaky how they can manage all of that. So just imagine that if you paint a pictures or you're creating something, and that product, that output has always been inputted in blockchain and recorded under your names. So every time people using your product, using your IP, they actually have to pay for it, right? So you have a better way to keeping track of your product and everything. Yeah. Next slide. So to give a clearer example, I'm going to the next slide. This is an example of how WildTrace helping a supply chain journey, for example. So if you can see on the screen, the red line at the bottom is how the product come from manufacturing to the consumption of the end user at the end of on the right screen and everything. So from the product point of view, the process is exactly the same. Manufacturing, receiving material, creating the product, get it on a truck, send it to the warehouse, and then from the warehouse to the retailer, and then the consumer buying it from the warehouse, right? So all of the milestone and the thing that I just mentioned called it's called critical events, right? So for a complete trace and track solution, you as an end user, as a system, you need to be able to see all of this information, right? So if we put the entire journey on blockchain, so how does it different from the normal system? So at the point of the material being imported into the warehouse, we scan, we record the information, we scan the QR code, so the information got into the system. Then when the product leaves the manufacturing, the QR code activate, meaning that these products are live, these products are good to go to the market. Then when it goes to the truck tries to deliver it to the retailer and everything. The driver is scanning the QR code again, so you understand where's your product are at, right? And then in which way your product is getting to you. For example, if you consider some of the product that being shipped or being transferred from one country to another country, I think Malaysia have a very good example in the oil and gas and some other agriculture product as well. Then when the product get into the retailer store, the retailer scan again. So on the blockchain journey, it's recording another milestone that the product has safely arrived to the end point of the selling point, right? And of course, if the end user bought the product, when they scan the product, they can see the entire process that I mentioned to you guys just now, from the warehouse to the manufacturing to the truck, and then at the end to the retailer as well. So depends on the product type, depends on what you're selling. You may need to cover the entire process, or you can just pick and choose a few critical milestones in this journey to record on blockchain. Depends on the pain point that you experience at the moment, for example. Yep. So in the next slide, basically it's a high level look of how the blockchain information system look like from the IT point of view. So you see, like the blockchain is where you store the the information running. Let's say on under the surface, the product is moving from one place to another place. It passing from one person to another person and everything. But on the surface, what the end user, when they scan, it's pull all of that information and show it to them that, okay, this is the product, where is this coming from, how long it has been created or imported or exported, for example. I think later on I have a few live case that I think you guys can understand that better. So bear with me on these few technical slides, just for the purpose of understanding. So on this slide, basically this is an illustration of how you can see from scanning a QR code. When you scan a QR code, and again, this is by design, and it's up for you to design what kind of information you want to show to the end user, or between all of the internal manufacturing or delivery parties or something like that. So it will require, it will provide, for example, names of the product, type, selection, pricing, or even history, or even why is it that this color, why is that color, for example. And the interface that actually you're seeing all of this is when you scan the QR code, it will pop up a simple web page. So we call that a web explorer. This is the interaction between the blockchain system and you. So when you scan the QR code, if you are one of the input person of the system, then it will show you some of the key field for you to key in. For example, like, okay, the product has safely arrived to, let's say, Bukit Bintang Aeon Mall, for example, right? You key that in, you enter, the system automatically recorded that information, for example. But for the end user, they don't have to key in everything. They only need to scan the QR code, and all of the information about the product can come to them, right? And it's very beneficial, especially for the FMCG, the food industry, especially this COVID-19 time, to show their customer, their end user, where's the product coming from and everything, because it's very critical for the end user to understand what they are buying into, especially during the time that they can't go to the supermarket, they can't go to the store to select the product and see the product in hands, for example. Next. Also, another slide on how the web explorer can look like from different type of end user. Let's go to the next slide, to the next. Yeah, so hopefully by now you guys have a bit of flavor of how supply chain challenge can look like, and to show more easier example for you guys to understand, I go into some of the cases that we have done around the region as well. And first, very proudly, we would like to share the case that we have done here in Malaysia with the famous Kedah Harum Manis mango, right? So this project was the first of Malaysia when it comes to agriculture and supply chain in a full scale capability. So the challenge was that the Harum Manis mango coming from different farms in Kedah, and they have to track which mango is coming from which farm, right? And actually there are two types of mango that we are talking here. One is the sunshine and another one is the Harum Manis, right? And if you guys are a big fans of Harum Manis mango, you will know that Harum Manis mango will last only for a few weeks. If I'm not wrong, I think it lasts for around 3 weeks or so, right? So in this case, the QR code that we're putting on the Harum Manis that you're seeing on the screen, when you scan it, actually it's showing you where is this mango coming from, which farm, and again, it's coming from different farm, right? So this time you may get the product from farm A, another time you can get it from farm B, for example, right? And it's showing you the date that it has been cultivated, which, right? But, and then some of the upside that, like the Harum Manis enterprise got a chance to experience during the COVID-19 was that, I mentioned it before, because everyone are not allowed to go to supermarket, to basically pick up a mango and see if it's good, to feel confidence about the product that they buy, to ask the, the helper there, what is this mango? What is the best way to eat it and everything? All of that right now is being put and recorded nicely and safely in that small QR code. All of the information you can find about where's the product coming from, even some of the picture of where's the farm that plant this mango, for example, right? But, and then one of the best thing coming out of this project was that, and this is the upside of the blockchain solution that we're providing here, it's not only helping the Malaysian mango eaters to see where's this mango coming from, but it's also helping Harum Manis to understand where are their customers. Because every time you scan the QR code, it's giving Harum Manis the information that you're scanning it from, let's say, Kalang area or Johor Bahru or something like that, which allow them to for example, do better marketing strategy, depends on where the customer are coming from, so that they can spend and having the proper promotion for a proper location, for example. So you, as a company, as a supply chain company, a production company, you don't spend wrong marketing expense on the wrong location for basically. So with the blockchain solution in this case, it's boosting the confidence of buying the product from the end user, but at the same time, it's also allow harmonious enterprise to have better ideas where are their customer coming from, so they can serve the customer better. For example, yep. Next, the next example, basically the challenge is almost the same for supply chain. I think I will go over and over the same type of challenge. So this is the case that we have done in Vietnam for our high-end chocolates. So if you may already know that Vietnam is very famous for its agriculture product, and when it comes to chocolates, it's all about the glass and the level of the cacao powder that you're putting in the chocolates and everything. And this chocolate has been used for a lot of the 5-star high-end hotel in Vietnam. So it's very important for the chocolate producer to put in the QR code, like their product story, their like all kind of information that like it's helping them to build better brand loyalty with their like hotel customer, as well as like individual consumer that consume their product as well. Yeah. Next. So the traceability product can be applied for not only mango, so fruits, chocolate, but it's also can be applied for veggie as well. So this case is another case that we have done in Vietnam as well, which is for organic veggie and products. So if you're aware of the patterns here that we give you some of the live example, the product that are in the best position to apply traceability function in their system are the product where information about where's the product coming from, how is it being manufactured, how is it being cultivated, is super important for their consumer. That is the best type of the product that benefits the most from traceability offering, for example. So again, I just want to put it out there because it's need to make a perfect sense for the manufacturer to spend extra opportunity cost to acquire these technologies so that they can serve the consumer better, or understand the consumer better, or helping them to cut the cost, for example, right? Next. Yes, and the last, I think it's the last. The other example that we have also done in Vietnam is also tea and coffee. Just like if you are the coffee lover out there, you know that if you go to some boutique coffee shop, the pricing of the coffee, if it's from, for example, South Africa or some of the very unique location, the price of the coffee seed is actually more expensive than the others, right? So it's all about the root of origin, the origin of location, where the coffee being planted, being grown, and everything. So again, we have another case for tea and coffee exporter. So this company in Vietnam, actually one of the company that covering almost 60% of the production capacity in Vietnam at the moment when it comes to coffee and tea. Very, very big company. Yep. Next. Yep, I think that's about it from me on the supply chain and how blockchain can solve some certain issue together with some live cases. I think now it's time to pass it back to our host so that we can take on some Q&A. I'm happy to answer.
Fascinating stuff indeed, Chris. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Chris, you did mention about one of the current issues in supply chain management is that system integration is complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. Vice versa, blockchain technology is equally complex. So, how easy or difficult it is for the industry to start adopting it?
All right. So to answer that question, I think complex or a simple architect or system, it's all depends on how you design the system. Basically, it's exactly the same way. If you look at, like if you get a 20 years home builder to build your home, he can get it done in 2 days and with 2 tons of material. But if you give it for like a newbies in like the building industry, they spend more materials and it takes more time to build that architect with the same purpose, for example, right? So again, it's simple or difficult depends on how you want to design it as well. But I think I mentioned it during my presentation that it can be as simple as just a web page popping up, right? So when you scan the QR code, a page pop up. If you have to key in some information, then you do it. If you only one of the viewer, you want to see information, that's it, right? It does not require you to have a separate device to view or to input or to do something like that. So, but of course, if we want to talk about a more complex way to interact with the system or record the system, it's possible as well. So it really depends on how you want to make it as simple or complicated.
Well, you can always simplify the process or the method, isn't it, Chris?
Always, yes. And it's very important to keep it as simple as possible, because I think I mentioned it during my presentation as well, because we're talking about, for example, truck driver, we're talking about retailer, warehouse people. So you need to make the system as interactive and as easy as possible for them to use it, right? Maybe just scan, take a photo, done, right? So your job is done. So they need to know all of that, which is what they have to do at that particular touch point. Maybe they don't have to understand that it's even a blockchain system. All they have to do is, I have to scan and I have to take a photo, for example.
Well, you don't have to complicate it, isn't it?
No, we don't. And I think you asked a little bit about the cost as well. So I think to give some illustrative figures, I think one QR code can cost as much as a few ringgit. And this QR code can apply for one mango or for one box of mango or one container of mango. It depends on how deep you want to get into tracking any particular level of the product. For example, like you want to touch really small or a bigger box, for example. So it's all up for your purpose as well. Yep.
Anyhow, your hard money still lingers in my mind, by the way, still.
Yes.
Chris, yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, the Harmonis project, even the enterprise that are applying the solution, they were surprised by the feedback that they got from their customer. That, I mean, a lot of them is like, hey, this is cool. When I scan, I know exactly how you guys grow it, and if I have enough time to eat it as well, because when you go to supermarket, sometimes they put the close to expire product up front and in the front. And then if you're not carefully, right, you pick up the box, and then when you go home, you only have 2 days to eat it, for example, or it's even, it's done. So if you're aware that this QR code can give you that kind of information, you scan it, you see it, and then simply you can just pick another box, for example.
Very informative at the same time. Yeah. Well, Chris, in most of the use case examples that you have shared with us earlier on, mostly focusing on traceability of the origin or quality of a product. However, in the supply chain management, there are many other problems like the supply chain meltdown due to short of supplies, shipment or logistic schedule matters. So, is blockchain really a solution for these two as well?
I would say yes, but not as a big impact as compared to the traceability offering that they have done for the supply chain as well. And the reason is that a lot of the problem that you just mentioned just now, like stocking, warehouse management, it's also require order system support as well, like like warehouse support and so on and so on. Because if you are understand about a blockchain system, simply it's just a data recording system, right? So in that particular challenge that you brought up, one way that blockchain definitely can solve in that supply chain challenge is the real-time alert system. And I think this COVID-19 was one of the best time to see that in real life, because what happened, especially, let's pick the case in Vietnam, because I was in Vietnam during that time. What happened during the first few weeks of the entire globally lockdown because of COVID-19? As you may aware, a lot of the country around Asia are entirely depends on China for material supply. I'm not saying about production capability. Vietnam have production capability. Malaysia have production capability. But what we are talking about if we don't have the material to produce, right? And pick the most simple product was in crisis at that time, the mask.
Yeah.
Vietnam have a numbers of manufacturing can produce the mask with like proper timing and everything, but we were missing a critical element, the the cotons to put in the mask to produce the mask.
The cotton. Yeah.
Yes, 60% of, I know, 70% of them are coming from China, and the border with China was completely locked out during that time. So and people was, manufacturing were rushing out to find alternative solution. Can we find someone in India? Can we find someone in some other area, for example? So all of that put in a summary that if we have a storage or a stock management system, of course, like for this to happen, a lot of the warehouse have to talk to each other regarding information flow, right? They have to open up their basically data to show that, okay, this is how much I have as stock, that's how much you have as stock. So if people buying from here and there and it's moving, everything is in real time. So now you can count on that information in real time. And of course, if you can do that, it's become a decentralized commodity exchange in a way as well. So we don't have to buy stuff from a middleman anymore. You can see exactly the stock level from your vendor in China, in India, and very quickly decided if you can go with which vendor for what price, for example. So definitely with blockchain, a automated system being run by blockchain with smart contract, definitely that is possible. Yep.
Very systematic blockchain do provide the solution for all these problems. Yeah, Chris?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris, currently, is there any government that have put relevant policy on blockchain application in place? And in your personal opinion, what is required for the government to implement a relevant policy for blockchain, specifically in supply chain management?
Right. Surprisingly,
Mhm.
we are in a few live discussion with let's not try to name any country out there,
Yeah.
but it's exactly as you mentioned just now. The government, they see exactly some of the challenge that we brought up during our section today, and in the position of the government, they understand that they have to become the uh, I wouldn't say policy maker, because they're already policy maker. They have to become more like the facilitator for these activities to take place, especially for country like Malaysia and Vietnam, where the government actually and indeed still own a lot of the business on the ground, and a lot of them are related to the supply chain, right? So they have no choice but have to put these company on a better platform, meaning that it's allowing you to sell your product better, for example. And surprisingly, some of the government that we have talked to in Southeast Asia has started doing this very effectively. They did a proper research on what supply chain can help some of their portfolio companies, and they even facilitate the process, and even like sponsoring, how do I say it, like sponsoring the POC stage, so that the corporates, the enterprise understand and see the true value of blockchain before they can get on a proper journey with the blockchain solution provider. Because we are talking a very new technology here that the corporate is scared, the enterprise is scared, because I don't know what is Chris is talking about. Yeah, he say everything is amazing, but I don't trust him, right? I trust my government. So in this case, I wouldn't say they are the policymaker, because for supply chain, I think blockchain is just another solution on the ground. It does not affect a lot of the legal aspect as much as some of the financial application, for example. But the government become more like the facilitator, because it's just like a very reputable referral. Okay, the governor say, okay, this is Chris, they have done this. Chris, let's show them like how do you track Malaysian palm oil from one place to another place. You know what? We gonna sponsor the POC stage, very small scale, from one point to another point. Let's see them let the enterprise seeing the value that we can bring to the table, and then after that, the enterprise can actually covering all of the expense, covering all of the complete full scale of a solution, for example. And we have seen this right now at the moment. Yeah.
Chris, are there any confusion in regard to the policy in place, or some policies are being misinterpreted by the industry players?
I would say no. I would say no. I would say no.
Fantastic.
And actually, the more that we're working with the government side, policymaker side, we kind of learned that like for some of these supply chain enterprise, sometimes it's best that you not mentioning to them that this is a blockchain solution, because it's only creating more confusion for them.
Yeah.
Simply just showing your product, how is it more advanced than whatever they're using at the moment, how they can protect themselves better, or getting more benefits, or cutting more costs. Maybe if they're curious, oh, how you guys do that anyway, then you say, oh, you know what, whatever you asked just now, it's called blockchain. Because putting blockchain in the beginning sometimes creating the confusion, like, hey, we're not selling any coin, what do you mean by blockchain and everything. So let's just keep that aside as well.
Interesting. Chris, to date, is there any solid data proven that blockchain is the technology that the industry should not ignore?
I'm afraid that not yet. This is not the year that we're seeing that, yes. Especially in Southeast Asia, where we see quite a number of active initiatives on the blockchain space. But I think overall, industry-wise, there's still not enough statistic to back it up as like blockchain is a no-brainer, right? We're still in the process of convincing people. People are still need to be educated. So I think we are minimum 2 years away from that. But I think COVID-19 has speed up a lot of that for us in a way. If you want to look
at a silver lining in every adversity, Chris.
yes, absolutely. Because today we don't touch much on like the financial application. That's also another area that also picking up quite nicely from the blockchain adoption as well because of COVID-19. Yeah.
And Chris, what is your last advice to our audience on blockchain technology adoption? Your advice, key point or two, probably.
Yeah,
Chris.
I think in the beginning part of my presentation, I mentioned briefly about you guys have the enterprise, the government, the company have to understand exactly where are your pain points very well, and being selective on how these pain points can be solved. Is it going to be solved with a current system that we doesn't know about yet, or is it can be solved by blockchain or decentralized technology, for example, right? Then after you asking yourself that question, then it's about prioritize which challenge that you're going to go for, right? Because not every challenge that you solve will give you an immediate result right away. So you have to be selective in your technology investment as well, because people want to invest in the technology and see the result right away. So you have to be smart in the area that you want to use the technology to solve it for as well. And also, I mentioned it before, I mentioned it again, blockchain is not a miracle technology. Stop saying that. And even, like from a service provider, we want to tell our client that as well, because once in a while we have the question like, I thought you guys can do everything. I thought you guys can fix that data, fix this problem. I was like, sorry, no. If you don't keep your data proper, you don't protect your customer and here and there, even if you want to use blockchain, there's nothing we can do for you, because your architect, your infrastructure, your foundation are not in a proper condition yet. So of course, there are a lot of requirements for any, like company out there to start adopting blockchain. But I guess a lot of the experienced blockchain service provider out there, it's our main goal to make it simpler and simpler for everyone to use. And just like, us as the individual to learn about new technology to use, it's just like you try to use a new phone. You got to get used to use it. It's a different type of battery, different way of turn it off, for example. So it's all understanding and like journey to get used to something new. It's all about that.
Blockchain is effective to be implemented, to be used, and to be utilized, of course, but it is still not a miracle worker.
It can solve a lot of things effectively, but definitely it does not solve everything, sadly, yes.
Mr. Chris Tran, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you to be here again. Thank you so much. Look forward to the next time.
Splendid. Thank you for watching Expert Insight at Live. If you like what you have seen, do subscribe to Convex Hub channel, switch on the notification, and get notified on our Expert Insight at Live on-demand videos. Follow us on our LinkedIn page, FB page, and Twitter for more interesting episodes and topics on market, policy, strategy, technology, and innovation in your economic sector that have steered the industry growth. Coming up next,